တော်လန်တော်လန်ပြည်သူအားလုံးမင်္ဂလာပေါင်းနဲ့ပြည့်စုံကြပါစေ
Greetings to all the people of the revolution. We'd like to extend our warmest greetings from People's Go Way of Thought talk show program. Our program we have been running every Sunday in order to help promote the change of ideology in Myanmar. And now this week we'll be talking under the title of the results of the 2020 general elections and the connection to the revolutionary journey. Before we start, just recently, last week to be exact, Thailand general elections also had some implications and some interesting results even for the people of Myanmar. So Thai people have voted and indicated their choice for a civilian government, that the people have voted to have a civilian government. However, there are still uncertainties whether will there be a genuine civilian government, a public government. People are still very much concerned about their future, and that kind of uncertainty is something people in Myanmar also have encountered. In Myanmar, general elections have taken place in 2010, 2015, 2020, respectively, and the 2008 constitution. With the landslide victory and the support of the people, the National League for Democracy had won the elections with the majority of the votes. However, it has been very difficult in Myanmar to establish a genuine civilian governments. But with the military junta, military junta have attempted the coup in 2021 after the election of 2020, and that they refused to recognize the result of the 2020 election. Then now that there are also considerations that 2000 constitution is not the result. So under today's session with the title "The Result of the 2020 General Elections and the Connection to the Revolutionary Journey." In today's talk show program, we have invited speakers to join us. We have invited Do Myananati, who is an election observer, and Muzo from Democratic Party, from Democratic Party for a Democratic Party for a New Society, DBNS, and Htluttaw, a member of the Parliament and also a member of the committee representing Pyidaungsu, CRPH. And my name is Seng from Kachin State Civilian Movement, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. Before we start the talk show, I would like to give time to our speakers to introduce themselves. Good evening to all the speakers. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us time despite your busy schedule. Before we start with the discussion, then I would like to request you to introduce yourself and what you are working on to the extent that is possible. So I would like to invite Siama first. Okay. My name is Myananati. Since 2010, I have been working on the election observation, and I'm also participated in the international elections as an international observer inside the country. That in 2010 and 2015, I have worked as an election observer, and after the coup, I have been election observers from across the country have been contributing to this spring revolution in different ways and different roles. Thank you. That's all for me. Thank you. May I invite Aung to introduce himself? My name is Aung. Currently, I'm chairperson of the Democratic Party for a New Society, or DPNS. In 1988-87, I've been involved in the movement for democracy. I am also one of the 1988 generation students, university students as well. Since then, I have always been active in the politics, and now in the Spring Revolution, in the resistance of the military dictatorship, as well as for restoration of the democracy. I am until today day, I have been working with a new generation of youth activists, with the ethnic revolutionary forces. I'm working together with them to remove the military dictatorship from Myanmar and for the restoration of democracy. In fact, I'm contributing in every role that I can, in every way that I can, to the democratic movement in Myanmar. Thank you, Seya. May I invite Siako Htluttaw to introduce himself? To the comrades and the people of the revolution who are joining us in today's live stream of the People's Go Talk Show program. My name is Htluttaw. My murder organization is a committee representing Pyidaungsu or CPRH in the 2020 general elections. I have contested as a people's as a Htluttaw for the candidate for the Htluttaw in the Barbadian Township in the Yangon region. In terms of generation, I participated in the 2007 Saffron Revolution based on my political beliefs and causes that I believe in. Since then, I have always been part of the anti-military dictatorship and military regime movement, and in the Spring Revolution, I continued as an activist, as a student, and also as a student activist, and later as a political activist, and I have participated. And in 2020 election, I have participated for the very first time as I'm a fresh MP. This is the first time I am serving as a parliamentarian for the parliamentarian in 2020, and this was supposed to be my first term, but that I'm also honored to have this opportunity to be part of the revolution where we are trying to eradicate that military dictatorship as a system from Myanmar. Thank you to all the speakers. Just recently, Thai general elections have taken place, and the results of the Thai general elections could have a positive impact on Myanmar, and we are also seeing a lot of excitement over it. And that in the press conference, the chair of the Thai Move Forward Party leader also have mentioned about their considerations about the issue of Myanmar, and in the press conference, it was also mentioned that it is also important to help at the and also that they will also be pushing for the implementation of ASEAN 5-point consensus. They are interested in the border issues, and that they also want to help with the humanitarian assistance, and that the U.S. policies in the enacting the Burma Act, and that it is important for Thailand to work with the international community to put pressure so that Myanmar will be able to address the Myanmar crisis as well. In the last part, he said that truth is the strength, and that but strength is not the truth, and that was how the new Thai political party leader has expressed in his press conference. So, if we if we look back on the 2015 or the 2020 context, that's sort of like make us recall about Myanmar election back then. So to review that, I would like to invite Sia Muzo from the DPNS, Democratic Party for a New Society. So back then, people of your party, Democratic Party for a New Society, DBNS, that has demanded along with the people of Myanmar on the ground about for the abolishment of 2008 Constitution. You also have participated in both 2015 and 2020 general elections. So what caused your party to change your way of thinking? Thank you for the question. For our Democratic Party for a New Society, that we can say that our party has never changed in terms of our political commitment. Since 1988, that political uprising, that some of the future leaders of the DPNS have participated in the 88 political movement as well. When we have the possibility to form political parties, we have established our our Democratic Party for a New Society. The military leaders back then of the military regime, they have issued an order 1/1990, and that order is that we have to participate in the national convention and to support their program and their agenda. And we have refused. If we refuse to do so, then the political parties will be dissolved. And that order 1/1990, the decree, we opposed that order. That's why our party was dissolved that laterally by the unilaterally by military, and that's why back in those days, our Democratic Party for a New Society, TPNS, became an underground political party. After 20 years as underground political party, because the military have dissolved us, there has been some opening in our country. Some of the situations has opened up. Now we have space and opportunity to be able to do politics on the ground, above ground in Myanmar. We're still there. We are still in the border. We are still underground political party. Since we are a political parties and we have been disappear from the official political scene on the ground for 20, 30 years, we need our party to still survive. We need our party so that we need to rebuild our party base as well, and that's one reason. So for the second reason is that within that country that we need to, there are now space and doors open that which could lead to the amendment of the 2000 Constitution, and that was our analysis. Based on these conclusions, based on these analysis, our Democratic Party for a New Society, or DPNS, have decided to enter Myanmar back again, and then we want to reestablish our party. We want to re-register when we want to start mobilizing the people and rally for the amendment or the changing of 2008 Constitution. That was the basics for us in joining in this election. Once we came back to Myanmar, that I think since that we have came back to Myanmar, that we have been systematically working on the amendment of the Constitution, amendment of the 2000 Constitution, and that we also have worked together with allies who share the same opinion. That we have always been active. So the key point I would like to make is that we do politics. We do a lot of politics. Is that is based on the commitment we stand for. 2000 Constitution is no Myanmar. In reality, 2000 Constitution does not encourage nor promote democracy, that it strengthens the military dictatorship and the military regime, and they are using this 2000 Constitution in order for them to strengthen their survival, so to consolidate their military power. And that is the point we believe in, and that what we believe in, like, so doesn't guarantee the federal democracy, it doesn't guarantee the national equality, nor it doesn't guarantee the autonomy of the ethnic community. And that's something we have consistently worked on. You can also study our election manifestos, or the discussions, or the interviews, or the panel discussions that we have consistently given to that abolishment of the 2000 Constitution is something we have never given up upon, and this is something we hold on to give you a short answer. That when we work, as a political organization, or that I think that there are also opinions of the political parties. They have commitment, and they also have different approaches, and they work on. But the point I'm trying to make is that in the liberated areas, we have survived for 20 years in the border, in that underground. But the fact that we decided to go back is not because we agreed to 2000 Constitution. We are just changing our strategy, our approach to the movement and to the struggle. And that's why we decided to go back inside Myanmar to build our strength, to build our party base, and then to build our party. At the same time, we have never given up that amendment of the Constitution, or that abolishment of the Constitution, and for the emergence of a federal democratic constitution. And that it is also important to capture and that political opportunities and space that have opened up in 2010. That's what I would like to say. So that's the key point I would like to make. Now that the Spring Revolution has taken place, that and that it is in that it is that there are also changes. There are also a lot of changes for that to make, and that we also understand that there are a lot of limitations to that as to open up. I think it is now also is the time to openly push for it, and that's why we are publicly standing up. We are also speaking for that reason. That next another point I would like to make is that in that we are not talking about the abolishment of the 2000 constitution because of just during between the Spring Revolution, no, because we had when we went back to Myanmar, when we start talking with the High Commissioner of the UN Election Commission, we start talking about the abolishment of the 2000 constitution, and we are consistently talk about the abolishing the 2000 constitution. If you look back on our interviews or our press conference or our statements, it's always there. You can study, and they will serve as as evidence to what we have been talking about.
Thank you very much for your points. You share the political standpoint and political integrity of the Democratic Party of a New Society. You mentioned that you contribute in developing the democratic society in Myanmar and contributing in the democratic transition in Myanmar back then at the emergence of the Spring Revolution. People are having a very strong goal for the changes. Having said that, I would like to invite next speaker, Htluttaw. Htluttaw, it's one of the member of the committee representing Pyidaungsu. I have a question for you. By April 2021, the declaration is made that 2008 constitution is abolished, and the revolutionary forces very much appreciated about that, and people have a genuine feeling of rejecting 2008 constitution. 2008 constitution play a major obstacle in developing or transforming the country into democratic society and the country. So now we have this revolution. This revolution goal is to 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 have a goal of the democratic future and democratic federal future. So I just would like to check with you that if this vision reflect the idea and desire of all the revolutionary forces in the country. I hope that you can hear me. So I just would like to ask you this perspective. Can you please share? Thank you. As you all know, that 2008 constitution is abolished by the committee representing Pyidaungsu by March by 30th March actually. So as we are all aware that the military dictatorship prevailed in this country by having this illegitimate coup d'etat. But for us, we are given the mandate by the people to do our job by declaring the abolishment of the 2008 constitution. On the other hand, is the political party member of the NLD. I study the party manifesto of the 2020 election. In this, we made promises to the people that this country shall be the federal democracy country, federal democratic country. This is a pledge that we made to the people as well. Now we have this revolution. As you all know that this country require a new system from the system of atrocities. We are in this journey together. In this journey, some people might say that 2020 election results is not valid anymore because 2008 constitution is abolished. So this is a political attack, I would say. Now, let's talk about the legitimacy. Legitimacy comes from the people. The people gave legitimacy to us from the election. So you don't have to marry between the election results and the constitution. The legitimacy of us come from the people directly. The people gave this mandate to us. We are not just merely practicing the law. We are, of course, elected by the people. We, as the elected representative, take oath in the parliament. So let me explain a bit. There are quite a lot of countries in which they don't have written constitution. So this is a clear example that they don't have the marriage between the election and the constitution. Many people feel very much disgusted in terms of the fake democracy mentioned by the 2008 constitution. So the message is very clear. There is no 2008 constitution anymore, but what we have the legitimacy given by the people. This is something that I would like everyone to draw their attention to. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. So we will have next round of questions, but now that you have been talking about it, I think I also like to ask a follow-up question. Just to add that, you can also feel free to add anything you want to add, although we have a second round because to make the point across. So in the discussion raised by Ko Situma, that he shared about the abolishment of the 2000 constitution doesn't mean that the results of the that doesn't mean that there is no legitimacy for the parliamentarians who will be elected by the 2020 election as well. I would also like to then ask about it as well, and that so I would like to I would also like to ask the question is that and that abolishment of 2000 constitution reflect the demand of the ground strike committees, but however does it reflect that not only CFH but also the ethnic political party when the which consideration has led to this determination? We ask the question because that ethnic revolutionary forces have always been asking for asking for their self-determination as well. So in terms of negotiation, so NUG and that other ethnic political parties, why they are doing their negotiation about the legitimacy of the 2020 general elections, it's still that kind of discussion based on the legitimacy as well as on the while we are trying to push forward for the federal democracy, and that that consideration is there I would like to say being overly confident about that winning that 2020 election. That's why I'm asking you this follow-up question, because that's what I would like to know. Do you have anything you want to explain that the NLD seems to be proud of certain points? So can you also follow up on these points? Of course, I can. that first of all, that the 2006 constitution has been has been abolished. So there are also some consideration and concern that there is that we have a constitutional vacuum, and that I think it is important for all of us to have the federal democracy charter. The day after that, the day after the abolishment of the 2006 constitution, we have established a federal democracy charter. In the federal democracy charter, that under that. If you look at it from the collective leadership of the Federal Democracy Charter, the Spring Revolution is that Spring Revolution is it's not a revolution that we are going through to bring power back to an individual organization or a collective. It's for the Spring Revolution is for the eradication of the military regime, military dictatorship, and the military should go back to the barracks, and the military should not interfere in the politics, and that Myanmar needs to have a genuine federal democracy. That's the purpose from it as well. So that if you look at it from the charter perspective, we have the de jure legitimacy, that comes from the people, as well as on the de facto legitimacy, like the general strike committees, and that's right. So that is something we all the idea, the concern comes, the idea comes from that we are working together from there as well, and that it's not one forces removing the others, but we are all working together to be able to be on this journey together. So by alleging us that we are holding on tightly to the election, to the results of the 2020 election, is we are not working to restore power to a political institution as well. That we are saying that the military cannot remove the political institutions of Myanmar. That the political the electoral politics is useful in Myanmar in this resistance against the military system. So it is very clear among our the revolutionary forces. Is very clear between the different one forces to another. So the suspicions or the doubts that we have, I'm sure that my answer have clarified the doubts and the suspicion the different forces have. That's the basis. That's the starting point from where we are going. In this revolution, there is something we also say. We are not. This revolution is not about the regime change. It's not about changing it. We are working for a system change. We want to change we are trying to change the entire system, and that's what we are working on. So that we are working on the system change. It's not the regime change. So to recap, I would like to say that in this revolution, we have both the de jure and the de facto as well, and that's the basic stuff from which we are working on. So that's what I would like to explain. Thank you for clarifying and for sort of explaining and answering the follow-up question. So I would like to invite another speaker. I would like to invite this time Siama Do Myananate. So you yourself have been working as a electoral observer for the past and then since then you also have now that the Union Election Commission (USC) has continued working under the blessings of the military junta. So what will you think about that? And if they were to continue with the with the election, do you think like as some of the countries are saying, what do you think? Will there be a restoration of democracy? Is it possible? Why? If it is possible, why not? I would like to get your perspective and recommendations.
ခွင့်ရတဲ့အတွက်ကျမတို့ဒီရွေးကောက်ပွဲဆုံးဖြတ်ရေးအုပ်စုတွေနဲ့အခုဒီစကားစခန့်လိုက်တဲ့ဦးသိန်းစိုးစကားစကော်မရှင်ကတော့ရှေ့တရားတဲ့တမိုင်းကြောင့်ပေါ့နော်တော်တော်လေးအခက်အခဲတွေကြုံခဲ့ရတယ်။ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုတော့ဒီ2010မှာဆိုရင်ကျမတို့ဒီရွေးကောက်ပွဲဆောင်ကြည့်သူများတရားဝင်လေးလာဆောင်ကြည့်ခွင့်ရခဲ့တာမျိုးတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးပေါ့နော်။တရားမျှတမှုမရှိနိုင်တော့ရွေးကောက်ပွဲဆိုတာကိုလည်းကျမတို့သိတယ်။ဒါပေမဲ့သို့တော်လည်းပဲဒီစစ်အုပ်စုရဲ့ဘလိုမျိုးဒီပြည်သူမဲတွေကိုဘလိုလိမ်လည်လှည့်ဖျားမယ်ဆိုတဲ့အခြေအနေရများကိုကျမတို့ဒီသိကျင်တော့အတွက်ကြောင့်မလို့ကျမတို့ဒီစောင့်ကြည့်လေ့လာမှုတွေလုပ်ခဲ့တယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒါတော့2010ရဲ့ရွေးကောက်ပွဲအခြေအနေကတော့ဒီပြည်သူလည်းသိပြီးသားဆိုတော့ကျမတို့ဒီဆွေးနွေးဖို့မရှိတော့ပါဘူးပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒီတုန်းကတွေကစပြီးတော့မှဒီမဲလိမ်မဲခိုးတွေပြဿနာတွေနဲ့ဒီတက်လာခဲ့တဲ့အစိုးရတရက်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒီကနေပြီးတော့ကျမတို့ဒါဘလို့ပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပြည်သူတွေကကောဒီရက်ဖက်လူမှုအဖွဲ့တွေကကောဒီနိုင်ငံရေးမှာပါဝင်ပတ်သက်တဲ့ စုဖွဲ့တွေအားလုံးကဒီ2015ရွေးကောက်ပွဲပါဝင်2020ရွေးကောက်ပွဲမှာပေါ့နော်ဒီအရွေးကိုနိုင်ငံတစ်ခုရဲ့အရွေးကိုဒီကောင်းမွန်သောနည်းလမ်းများနဲ့တွားလို့ရမလားဆိုပြီးတော့စူးစမ်းပြီးတော့တွားခဲ့ကြတာပေါ့နော်ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီအခြေအနေကတော့အားလုံးသိပြီးဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒီမှာကျွန်တော်တို့ပြောချင်တာကဒီ2020ဒီရွေးကောက်ပွဲအပြီးမှာဒီအာဏာသိမ်းမှုဖြစ်တယ်အဲ့ဒီမှာဒီအရင်တုန်းကဒီ
And another thing is that we have Htluttaw as the election commission commissioner, and for the election observer it was just a joke that he is taking this position back, but he had this fishy history of the head of the election commission had in the past as well. Now I would say that this SAC election, it's the sham for sure. This election is not in line with what people want, and it is not a legal election as well. So that's why we use this terminology consistently, that if the SAC is thinking of an election, it is the sham election. And as a result of it, the SAC election commission is a sham coalition as well. The thing is that the election commission is set up only by the president of the country. So this is clearly mentioned in the election law of Myanmar, chapter 2. And there is the criteria of the commissioners clearly mentioned that they have to be honorable people, they have to be reputable people. But anyway, my point is that the whole election commission is to be set up only by the president. This is what the law said. And another thing I would like to say is that 2020 election was watched and observed by tens of thousands of individual independent election observers. And there are also the election observers domestically, internationally mentioned that this is the clean election. Of course, there are some logistical improvement needed. Apart from that, there is no irregularities. If the result of the particular election is disputable, or if the performance of the election commission is questionable, there is the proper process to go for it, but not the coup d'etat. So now they stage the coup with the justification that there is the election irregularity, which is completely unacceptable by anyone, I would say. And we have this associations of war election body in which Myanmar Election Commission is the member. And we informed to the AWOP at the very beginning of the coup d'etat that the election commission is not recognized and it's not acceptable by the people of the country. So as a result of it, this Myanmar Election Commission is not recognized by the international community as well. 2008 constitution might be used by the SAC to restore the democracy, and the result, it's impossible, I would say, that the democracy is restored. We have this revolution. This Spring Revolution is the revolution to change the era of a country. It is not the revolution, not for the changing of the regime, but to change the whole system of the country. And we even now have the Federal Democratic Charter, So what is to be next? Next is to have the Constitutional Assembly. So this is something that we will talk more in the second round of this panel discussion. Again, we have this illegal regime doing illegal act, so they, in that case, will not be able to restore any democracy in the country. No one will accept it. Public will not accept it. No revolutionary forces will accept it. So we just have to move forward from where we are. I will try to contribute more in terms of all the technicalities of what I'm talking about in the second round of discussion. Thank you. Oh, I just would like to add one thing before I give the floor to you. In 2019, 2020, we have this we have this DPNS, and together with DPNS we recommend and make recommendation to the lower house saying that to reduce the 25% representation of military in the parliament. And we talked about the language of reducing the 25% of the military MP, but the DPNS even said very clearly that it has to be 0% of their representation in the parliament. And we even discussed with the committee of the parliament that to have this voting booth not in the military camp but outside of the military camp. There was some success as well, but we also make a recommendation to the parliament that the military representation is completely to be abolished. So this is the unfinished business for us to make the system change as well. So as you all know that we did not have genuine democratic transformation in the past. This 25% military MP has always been there. So if we are to restore, or if we are to have this 2008 constitution alive back in this country, then this country will never have the true and genuine democracy at all in this perspective alone. Thank you very much. Audience, this is the end of first round of our panel discussion. As usual, we will have the second round of discussion, but before proceeding the second round of discussion, you may make use of the Q&A box and chat box to raise any of your questions or comment regarding the first round of questions, the first round of discussion, and then I will direct them to the panelists as well. Thank you very much to all of you panelists for your contribution in the first round of panel discussion. We have discussed about the reason of the abolishment of 2008 constitution, the results of the 2020 election. All of this happened before the coup d'etat. So the purpose of the first round of discussion is to refresh our memory what had happened before the coup. And now we are traveling in this new direction to our future journey in which there are some suspicion, there are some doubts, there are some questions among each other while we are traveling together. So you all clarify with your response. You all answer very directly for some of the concerns of the people and of the revolutionary forces. I thank you for that. Now, let's talk about the second round of the discussion. The second round of the discussion is about the way to move forward. How should we see our future in light of the past election result and in this new dynamic? First, I would like to invite the representative from the DPNS to share your response. My name is Aung.
အင်္ဂလိပ်လိုအတူကောက်ကတော့ DPNS ဖြစ်ပါလေဗျအဲ့ဒါလေးကျွန်တော်ပထမဆုံးပြောချင်ပါတယ်ဒါဒုတိယတစ်ခုကျွန်တော်တင်ပြချင်တာတော့ခနေ့နေဦးတော်လှန်ရေးစကြတဲ့ကကျွန်တော်နားလဲတာကျွန်တော်ဖြတ်တန်းခဲ့ရတဲ့
Thank you. Thank you for. Just want to remind you that my name is Aung and my party is Democratic Party for a New Society, or DPNS. And that, as for the democratic struggles, is that that I know I was not our struggle for the movement was not across Myanmar. It was part of Yangon. So in a way, I was part of the General Strike Committee, out of also the Bagata or the Students' Union movement, and back in the strike. Since then, since the very beginning of the Spring Revolution, in a small part of Yangon, and that what we have always asked for since then is that we want to end all forms of dictatorship from Myanmar, including the military dictatorship, and that's what we have always have demanded for. That's the first demand that we have made, and that's the point I would like to raise. Second point I would like to raise is about about the abolishment of 2000 constitution, and that's what the strikes were the movement have asked for. As the third point that we have raised is that we want we want to build a new federal democracy in Myanmar, and that's what we want as a nation building, and that's what the strike column has always asked for since the very beginning as well. And then we also have asked about the release of all political prisoners, including Aung San Suu Kyi, including President Wu Mye, and all the other political prisoners. And these are the demands that the strike columns and our strike movements have asked for during the Spring Revolution, that we also stand in line with these demands right today as well. So to the question you asked about the way forward, that's what we are. That's the destination that we are moving forward to. The demands of the people, the basics, the fundamental that people have demanded, is also the same as that of the others as well. And then as that we are considering more from CRPH had just explained, and these demands and these and their commitment, and that the position of the NUCC, the causes the CRPH is committed to, and that the CRPH is committed to, they are all part of it together. They all stand together, and this is where we are standing on, and that this is what we have to hold on to for the way forward. That's how I understand it. That's how I see it as well. And that in the beginning, as you have introduced, when you as a moderator introduced about the regional situation, about what's happening in Myanmar, about the humanitarian crisis, and that about going back to the 2008 constitution. All these pushes, all these points that have been raised, is that it is important for us to stand strong as well, and that we that we cannot go back under the 2000 constitution. It is important for us to be able to change the constitution, to change it as well. But we don't have that right now. We don't have the opportunity. The people in Myanmar are fighting in the different ways that they can. It's because right now people are fighting this system using whatever available weapons that they have. It's not because that our people want to fight against it, not because they are aggressive, because in reality that the people of Myanmar are protesting peacefully on the ground. They have asked for the political space in different ways, but that has been ignored by the military, and that they have responded in violence, and the way they have acted against the people is more than the state armed forces, and they act like an armed group of the armed organizations that is even that as an armed organization, like armed robbers, or that the way they have exercised that cruelty, atrocities is horrible. They are raping our people, they are killing our children, they are even killing babies, and and these soldiers these soldiers are committing such atrocities, and that the armed resistance that we have going on in Myanmar is not about fighting for the mere sake of aggression. It's a defensive war. And when we say the building of the federal democracy, when we talk about the abolishment of the 2000 constitution, it's because politically, economically, or socially, for the fundamental rights of the individuals of the groups, it is important to protect our rights. If we cannot build a federal democracy, then we will never, if we don't have autonomy in every community, and none of our communities will be able to defend themselves, will be able to exercise their rights, will have the right to defend themselves. That's why the building of the Federal Democracy Union and the abolishment of the 2000 Constitution is extremely important. It is important to stand from these bases to move forward. That's how we need to move forward. They need to push hard against the military just in case, if they promise to leave the politics, then that could be something else. But this military can be considered as a state armed forces. They are armed robbers, and they have the morality lower than that of a robbers or the criminals, and we cannot put them in a political situation, because they will push our country deeper into problems and situations as well. We cannot leave our politics in their hands, and that we need to if they don't accept that that's why we're saying no to the 2000 constitution. We don't say no to the examination for the people they have killed, the people they have looted, the people they have raped, and that the children they have also the crimes that they have committed, the violence atrocity committed. There is no space for us to dialogue with them. We need to continue to push hard against them. We need to remove them. So I would like to go to what Winty has said before, and we have nothing left but to kick them into the Bay of Bengal. That's our way forward. We need to kick them all away and get them all out, because for our country, if we want a genuine federal democratic union in Myanmar, if we want to be a genuine peace, if we want to have a genuine democracy in Myanmar, then we need to be clear of where we are going, and that's what we need to do. And that's what we need to do, and that we cannot negotiate with them, because we cannot make deals with the bad people, with the atrocious criminals. If the political forces are negotiating with them, then those political forces should not be considered as political forces as well. It is important for us to stand strong, remain committed, and push hard in this resistance. And that's how I see it. That's how I would say it. Our way forward is to continue with the resistance, to continue with the struggle, to continue to push hard politically, that our comrades, our friends and the comrades, they are picking up all the weapons, that the available weapon they have, and then that to be able to fight in this defensive war. And it's important that all the political forces, and all of us need to remain strong and committed to the cause in this resistance. That's our way forward. That's our only way forward to reach our destination. Thank you, Sia, for making the point. So in this in the current political context, and then so I would also like to follow up your question. I would like to now invite Sia Gosituma to explain how can we use the election results of the 2020 in the revolution period.
I hope that you can hear my voice. Thank you very much for giving me this floor for the second round. We have this 2020 election result. How are we going to make use of it for this revolution? Well, to be frank, the 2020 election results to be mentioned as the impact of it is to call the parliament, and we need to have a new parliament as the implementations of the result. Why the parliament? The parliament is to implement the wishes of a people. The CRPH is what the implementation of the mandate of the people. that was given to us. The SAC does not represent the people. We, CRPH, represent the people. We take the mandate of the people to work with our international alliance to implement and develop the wishes of the people, including removing the military dictatorship. And we have a success already in our implementation, which the concrete result that I mentioned, it's the Federal Democratic Charter. The Federal Democratic Charter represent the past, the present, and the future, and even the interim period as well. So the Federal Democratic Charter has the elements of three duration: the present, the transition, and the future. You may notice all of this essence that are all embedded in the articles of the Federal Democratic Charter. So everyone is practicing their operation in line with the Federal Democratic Charter. But for sure, in 2000, well, in this revolution, 2008 constitution sense is not there at all in any of the perspective. So 2008 constitution abolishment is nothing to be questioned at all. It is abolished. We are practicing ourselves in line with the Federal Democratic Charter right now, and it will be used for our future as well. Now, I just would like to ask the third panelist, what would be your opinion regarding how the future should be developed with the basis of the 2020 election results? What would be your opinion? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. As two other speakers have explained, why can we still use the results of the 2020 election is that we also have that stated very clearly, and that people are the original owners of the sovereign power. So in the 2020 election, and that that people are that either the military or that people didn't know that who they should vote, and that in the 2020 elections, people have selected the party they want to vote for, and they have selected and they have voted for them. So that's the base of the 2020 elections. And then we have most of the parliamentarians, most of them are also participating in this revolution as well. Either they are in the CRPH or that in the other in the state and regional political party. They are also serving their duties also very clearly. So as a electoral observer, I would like to express from this perspective that they still have a close connection with their constituents as well. So that either they are part of the CRPH or they are in the ethnic and then the political parties. What we can do now is that whenever that collecting the voice of the people, or that for that in the drafting of the federal democracy, how do they want to see their state, and that when they work on the issues like the forum or things that they could do, that for the constitution, for the new constitution, there are different ways that they can also do to help with that process as well. In addition to that, in the Federal Democracy Charter, it is also stated that there is also the permission to form that as well, the permission to form the independent commission as well. So they also said about the they can also form the commission, and that in that they also mentioned that they have the right also to form the independent electoral commission as well. Like we explained about the different phases. After the interim phase, then we'll reach also the transitional period after in the 3 periods, and then there will be a constitutional assembly to develop, adopt, and enact the federal constitution. Then there will be a need for federal. There will also be a need to have form the electoral bodies. That even now, I think we can even establish interim the electoral commission, and maybe that it could be to form an independent election management body as for the interim period, and can to work on the issue. Then that could also be a good way forward as well, because in drafting the constitution, the voice of the people or the public participation or that of the stakeholder is very important, so that in this it is important for them to participate in that. The leaders who are participating in this leading the revolution, they also need to understand that as well. And then while we are developing the policy, it is also important to listen to the voice of the people, and also it is also important. There are also there are about 10 commissions. I think it is important to form these independent commissions as mentioned in the Federal Democracy Charter, and work quickly on that. I think that will be useful. In addition to that, what do we also need to what the people also need to understand is that that the military, what they are saying, or that whether they will do it or not, that that the military, rather than going and voting for in the SAC's sham election, it is that if we will have been informed that there will be a democratic constitution coming out very soon, and we can be part of the constitutional drafting process, and wait until we have a time for the people referendum, and to have a chance to vote in that as well. That will also give people aspirations and have a strong commitment as well. And of course, to do that, there will be a lot of process to take, but the key will be the people. It is important to take people into consideration, and that there are also that there are many things that you need to do. That there could also be power sharing, resource sharing. There are also many issues as well. I think it is important to now that I think there will be something that we can work on as well, and that there's something, if we work on, think about it, then that will be that also help us see clearly for the way forward as well. Thank you for your answer. So right now in this these are the end of the questions that we have prepared from the People's Go team, but we also have received some questions we have received from the people who have been listening to our discussion. So I would like to be I would like to give a chance to ask these questions and comments as well. So we have also have one of the participants who has raised his hand as well. So Tura, your mic has been you can also turn on your microphone and speak. Yes. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you just fine. Well, I would like to ask this question to U Situmau. So I think about a week ago that on the page of a CRPH, there is a post that I've noticed, and that so I was reading the post and I would like to ask questions. So that the CRPH so CRPH during that in the interim that election, or that interim constitution, or that what do we do? I think there was also the official page also talk about installation of transformers that you are discussing. I mean, like during this Spring Revolution of the interim period, why is CRPH talking about these particular topics? So I think it's like are they not that it is about the meters and the transformer, something like I think CRPH has posted it as well, that and that's something I have noticed, and that and also that also about in the during that and what will be the CRPH role in the drafting of the interim constitution? Okay. So the question from Kutuya, and I also have another question, a few others question I have received. So that I would like to give it to you as well. That okay. So your question is that yes, that there has been in the 2020 election, people have voted and elected NLD, but the people also have been, participate in this resistance movement as well. It has been over 2 years that people have been resisting as a military, but now the revolution is now in the when the people join the revolution, it is that there are also like we are not, but there are also other parliamentarians who do not stand themselves as 2020 that of the elected parliamentarians or 2020, but there are many groups and organization institutions who are who are joining the struggle to represent the will of the people. So how does a representative of CRPH want to use the result 2020 election? And the people have been voting for 20 years. So couldn't there be approach not to hold on so tightly to the 2020 elections, and then to approach from the perspective that every organization, every democratic organization actor have the political representation? Can we do that?
Well, you mentioned about the interim constitution. Well, I would like to make some clarification. The interim constitution arrangement, it's the terminology, I would say. There is no such thing about the interim constitution. But now let me want to say about the transitional constitution. For the transitional constitution, we have the transitional constitution working group. We have the members who rectify the charter and other experts. This is the working group in which we expand the participation. Now, you also mentioned that not to hold the results of the 2020 election, but to open up everything for everyone having the political representation. Well, for this, I mentioned already that one should look up the de jure and de facto representations as well. And we have the we have the elected member, we have the representation in every levels as well. There is this forum and there is this platform for that, namely the National Unity Consultative Council, NUCC, in which there are debate, there are argument, there are different opinions, but the common goal among each and every one of us are very clear, which is to remove the dictatorships, including the military dictatorships, and to build the democratic federal future as well. So each and everyone has responsibilities with their own sector, with their own perspective, with their own mandate and responsibilities. This is the way that each and every one of us have to go about for the future. And again, 2020 election result cannot be abolished by the military dictators. This is what I am talking about. Because the thing is, we are having this revolution because this illegal institution is doing the illegal act by abolishing the 2020 election results. So this is what I'm trying to say. And you also talked about this electric transformer appliance and the household electric meters issue, which public come up with lots of ironic and lots of funny comments and everything. Well, this is something outrageous. I would say this is something um, not ideal as well, and this is something ridiculous. I'm sure, but all of this happened because of the weakness in communicating about a meeting that we have it internally as well. So it is all about um, uh, 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 it is all about the mistake or error in our public communication. So this is all about it, I would say. And for that, we feel sorry for it. Thank you. And we at I may I have more time before we conclude? Thank you. We have this federal ministry. It was in the past. I mean, it was quite recently. I don't remember. I don't remember the date that they mentioned that the federal discussion is paralyzed or halt due to one of a big political party disagreement. I heard it that minister of the federal ministry mentioned about it. So I just would like to clarify with you if this is the situation. Thank you. TCWG meeting, it's not progressing these days, which is correct. But one should look at the promotions of the inclusivities. We are to have political agreement out of our meetings and discussions, and it has to implement the concrete results as well. The transitional arrangement is something that we are discussing, and the follow-up and the transitional constitution and the mandate of the TCWG, and all of these were being discussed. So in terms of where to discuss, is it the agenda of the TCWG or it is the agenda of the broader platform? Is something that we have to determine. Although the TCWG meetings are not happening formally, we are discussing among ourselves informally. This is not something to be discouraged or depressed. The thing is, we have to counteract the military regime. They were talking about 2023 election, which is the sham election, of course. We also have 12-step roadmap from our side as well. We are implementing each and every step. The military has their own roadmap. We have our own roadmap. So, the roadmap of this revolution, it's to be transparent, and it's to be visualized, and it's to be very clear for everyone. This is, we all are trying. We are not being paralyzed. Things are not being halted. We are discussing in different forms. This is something that I would like to say.
ကျမတို့ထပ်ပြီးတော့ဒီ transition period လွန်သွားတဲ့အချိန်မှာ election
So to ask you this, that after there are also some topics that people say that that after once the election is over, and that I think it is important to hold the election because for example, like Rohingya did not get a chance to vote as well, that it is important to organize elections where we can ensure that all the citizens of Myanmar, all the people of Myanmar have the right to vote as well. And then there were also points raised about that the question that was raised about that So here we have a question that under the government was considered not very democratic, by democratic and persecuted any protests and jailed activists. So how can they be put back in power if we want a real democracy? So the question is that do you think being that when there is a restoration of power to the democratic forces, will there be a restoration of democracy in Myanmar as well? And that I think that some of the points are raised in that his comments and the concerns were also raised by one of the participants as well, and that there are also some questions as related to that. I think about the question about the CRPH, does the CRPH still represent the people? The country has changed. So I think some of the points have been answered in that in the discussions that discussion and the answer shared by Htluttaw as well. So to the people and our speakers, so we have done 2 rounds of questions. We also have given some time also to our listeners as well. Now that is actually we have gone over that the time that we have set aside for this discussion. But I also would like to give speakers an opportunity to share more as well. That in this we have the goal of abolition 2008 constitution. Why we also talk about that why should that we also talk about the need for the military to go back to the barracks and not interfere in the politics as well. So that there was also the some of the points that they have raised in the beginning about the abolition of the constitution, and then they also talk about that in this election that how they intend to use the results of the 2020 general election as well. So before we end today's talk show, I would like to invite our speakers for any words that they want to share, anything they want to share as we wrap up. I would like to invite all the 3 speakers to take the time to share any last points they want to make. So to all the speakers, now is the time. Siama Myananati, do you want to add anything? Sia Moza, sorry, Sia, please go ahead. Yes, I would like to, in summary, I would like to say that right now, this election and the election is something we need to work on to block the military from holding their sham election, because there are no reasons there should be election. There should be election in Myanmar at all. That's how I understand it. Secondly, the military is using also, military can also use different ways to get to consolidate their political power as well. Myanmar is that Myanmar has won 2 times to Nyangnabe, where the National Convention took place back in the 2008, if you recall, and that could be they could also use it as a political outlet for them to be able to avoid the situation that let's say that ASEAN 5-point consensus they can also use, and that they exploit the ASEAN 5-point consensus to be able to find a political outlet. They're trying to find an exit any way they can and find it out any way they can. And the sham election is one way they are trying to do it as well. And that's something we need to work on to stop that as well. Secondly, is that if the military try to organize have a convention, we need to stop them as well. If they try to find different ways to go away, we will need to find a way to stop the military from getting some sort of outlet. And we need to do that is because that we need to have a genuine the political framework, political structure where all the political forces and all the ethnic communities will be able to participate in such a way to be able to find a solution. That's something we need to do, and that we also need to stop that. We need to stop all the that all of us that to find a way to stop the military from finding exit political exit as well. And this same election the military is voting so much for. We need to find every way we can to stop that as well. Like if they in the military try to organize like a constitutional assembly or the national convention once again to amend the so-called 2000 constitution, we need to block that. We need to stop them from happening as well. And that now that I would like to give Siama Domyananati some time to make your summary remarks. Thank you. So I would like to I like I would like to start by saying that I really like the theme of this group, the organizer. They call it the People's School, because that we are all working hard to achieve this through the revolution, the goal or the aspiration of the people. People are supporting this movement, and that it doesn't matter, how we are beginning. It is also important for people to remain there, to remain strongly, to remain committed to the cause until we have reached the ultimate victory. It is important for the people to continue to support the revolution, continue to support the democratic movement until we achieve the results. I'm sure there are a lot of difficulties and challenges for anyone for playing different roles as well. But here, what I would like to propose from this platform is that that all the stakeholders who are participating in the important roles, the important place, it is important for all of you to listen to the voice of the people, to capture the aspiration of the people, to be able to respond to the needs of the people in a timely manner as well. Because the longer it takes in the revolution, and then the enemy could strengthen himself and then push us, further as well. I think it is important that it is important to get all the revenue streams of the military, and that it is also important for all of us to work together in such a way to stop the military from getting resources and from getting the others. It is important for all of us to work together among the democratic forces. In doing so, I think it is also important because the longer the revolution takes, the more people will be exhausted. So I think it is important for us to be to be able to be aware that the clock is ticking. People are getting exhausted, and that it is important that we need also to rally in such a way to ensure that public support is there in that in the movement against the movement of that opposing that and sham election, the military organizing, as well as stopping that military 25% of the military seats in the parliament. These are important movement for the people to rally upon as well. Htluttaw, if you are still here, so yes, any last remarks? Yes. As a concluding remarks, I would like to say that the results of the 2020 election, regarding the 2020 election, by saying that we cannot ignore the results of the 2020 election, or to recognize the results of the election. We're not talking about that for the legitimacy of the parliamentarians who have been elected in the 2020 election, and not for the one political party to regain its win. No, because we are asking people to respect and recognize the will of the people, the political will of the people, and the will of the people who have voted for in the 2020 election. That's what we are saying about. We're not talking about our legitimacy. Here, I would like to quote the author Senya Madida, and I usually quote her as well. In an election, she said that parliamentarian is a person who has been elected by the people. The winner in the election is the people, the constituents who vote for the people. So the people, the constituents, are our key, and that we need to put to the head the wills and the priorities of people who have voted for us in the election as well. So 2020 election donation is important because it gives us a legitimate mandate, the legitimacy that comes from the mandate that the people elected you in this election. Then we need to use this mandate for the emergence of a federal democratic constitution, and that for the release of all political prisoners, for the restoration of democracy in whatever political front or in whatever revolutionary front. It is important for us to use the mandate to carry out our duty, and that's what we are doing to the fully and responsibly to carry out the mandate of the people. Thank you to all the speakers and also thank you to all the listeners for joining us. Today, we discuss about the result of the 2020 general elections and the connection to the revolutionary journey. When we talk about the abolishing 2008 constitution, then a lot of people, some of the political parties are even now rallying to participate and contest in the sham election that the military junta will organize, and then sometimes some of the political parties also have have also counter that democratic actors by saying, didn't you win seats because you participated in the election under the 2000 constitution yourself. So there has been such arguments. We have been seek out argument as well. But in the contributions of our three speakers, it is seen what we understand very clearly is that 2020 general elections, results of the general election is not about the ensuring the legitimacy of any individual or any individual party, but is to respect and recognize the political will and aspirations of people who have voted in the 2020 elections. And it is in a way a momentum and strength that can be used as a leverage in this journey of the revolution. And that's the point that the speakers have made. So that we'd like to thank that all the listeners, and that for those who are listening to us in this in our talk show, and if you are to the institutions, organizations who are part of this revolution. I think it is important to see how we should accept the result of the 2020 election, and that how we should also carry on and carry on the results of the 2020 election. And I think today's discussion had also made certain points very clear, as we have. I would also like to thank our speakers, Htluttaw, Mozo, and Nandar. Thank you very much for giving us the time. I would like to thank on behalf of the People's School team. I also like to thank our audience for listening to us, giving us your time and also interest. And thank you also for the comments and the questions. And we'd like to wish you all a very good evening. And we'd like to wrap up our talk show here today. Thank you very much. See you next week.